Welcome everybody to the first episode of Jurassic June. We're here on the Face the Ace YouTube channel on the Ace2Face podcast. We'll be going over every single Jurassic Park movie with a brand new guest every week. So this week, to kick it off for the original Steven Spielberg's Jurassic Park, I am with the Steven Spielberg of Shockwave Studios himself, Mr. Nicholas Alexander, the man, the myth, the legend. Good to see you, man, and glad you're back on the show. We had you for the See No Evil episode, and now we can talk about a good movie.
Heck yeah, dude! I'm really pumped for this video and stuff here. I watched Jurassic Park twice, and
Nice.
I even learned a couple new facts about Jurassic Park. And also too is like I haven't watched the original one in a few years, so it was fun to watch it again. I forgot how much I really enjoyed it.
This is a movie I like to revisit around the summertime, to be honest. For some reason, and you know, it's that summer blockbuster. Maybe I just get excited for, you know, the summer and what could be, and it also helps that we've had Jurassic World sequels come out, so it's easier to get into that mood. But this movie always, you know, had a special place in my heart. What was kind of your first memory with this movie? If it was the first movie, I assume this was your first Jurassic memory.
The first Jurassic memory overall, I think I saw the first Jurassic Park was the second Jurassic movie I ever saw. The first one was always Jurassic Park 3, and I just remember that one. The big one from that movie that always like stuck in my head was when they're going across like the bridge or like some kind of bridge during like I think it was the pterodactyl was a sanctuary,
Yes.
and just the pterodactyl crawling on the bridge like toward them. But for me with this movie, it's always been specifically I think more of like just like the iconic like night scene of when they like encounter the T-Rex for the first time.
Yep.
That was like the moment that's always like stuck with me the most. Just everything with that in general.
That T-Rex scene, like, I literally remember, I think I was, for some reason, just hanging out in my parents' room, and they had a TV in their room, and I just, even though it was probably the middle of the day, it terrified me, but in a fun way. Like, I couldn't keep my eyes from it. The thing that scared me more, and I'm sure we'll get into it, like what the craziest stuff was the dinosaur that spit out venom and it did that jump scare.
Terrifying. Yes, when watching this again, like that was another one I forgot about when watching this movie again for this video. Is like, even though it's a small little part, like I was a little bit too scared by that again watching that. It's so simple, but yeah, just a little.
When I rewatched them when I was younger, I would always dread that scene. And even though I knew it was coming, it'd get me every time still. Like, for some reason, I don't know why, that scene really got me. I do have a little summary of Jurassic Park that I found that I think this is a good description of it. A wealthy old man says, "Hey, I made a zoo of dinosaurs." Scientists say, "That's reckless." Lawyers say, "That's expensive." Kids say, "Cool." Dinosaurs say, "We're gonna eat you all." Chaos ensures. Jeff Goldblum smirks and says, "Life finds a way." Everyone learns the valuable lesson: don't clone a T-Rex just to make money. And I think that's a great description of this movie. A lot of themes of it, you know, has to do with like playing God. You know, Steven Spielberg has always done a tremendous job at, you know, giving us fun and good entertainment, but at the same time giving us a really good message, especially around this time. You know, it came out in the 90s when blockbusters really became blockbusters. Like, you know, soon after this we get the big CGI spectacles like Independence Day, Pirates of the Caribbean, the Star Wars prequels. Like, this really set the tone of really what blockbusters would be up until Iron Man, and then, you know, the superhero stuff started. Do you kind of agree with that analogy?
Definitely, I think one of the other things too is like the kind of the jump start of like and like for me, I think when watching it and like off topic a little bit relating with Steven Spielberg because he was the producer. This is the night before doing this video here with you. I watched the first Transformers with my dad, and the one thing with like 2000s and 90s films I really forgot how much I really enjoyed is the fact of I think 90s was the start of it, then 2000s had like a good back and forth with it. Was the CGI is great, but I think the fact that like if you're able to use practicals, and like being and like because like there's a few moments in Transformers they did that, so I'm going off topic, but it was like then especially with like watching this one and like with like because I was really paying attention with like the practical versus CGI use, and just like I think just being able to seamlessly go back and forth to make it seem as real as possible compared to nowadays, and like I don't know, I feel like the tangible practical effects has like not lost its touch. I think a lot of people still like that, but I feel like it's not used as much as it could be in movies these days, and that was like the one thing I was really just like, oh man, like why don't they do this anymore?
This film does such a like great way to blend practical and CGI, especially with some of the T-Rex scenes, which, you know, is the big set piece everyone remembers. And I think that gets lost a lot of times. It just felt like once Jurassic Park took off, and then, you know, the Independence Day, the Godzilla, like
Phantom Menace and all the Star Wars ones going into
we pushed the boundaries of CGI so much, it just got to a point where, you know, a lot of people I think were just tired of it and saw CGI as kind of this lesser thing. And, you know, apples and oranges, I think, when it comes to CGI and practical. If your CGI is good, like Oppenheimer, for example, like where you're just, you know, visually like, wow, this is like fantastic, or, you know, something like Inception, when you could still like impress me, like stuff like that, like that's great. But practical, you know, was so cool. I mean, I just saw the new Mission Impossible, Tom Cruise like jumping back and forth on those planes and stuff. There is certain lighting that is so natural that you could only get if you're doing that for real. When you have like a practical like dinosaur, you have light bouncing off of an actual thing, and that goes a long way. We even see with Star Wars movies now during the sequel trilogy, they now have light beaming off of the lightsabers to kind of give that effect. So practicality and CGI, I think, need to cook together to make a good meal, to make a good movie. You need both of the, if you want to make a big spectacle, you need to somehow find your balance. Much like this movie, it's funny that the blueprint was here, and then it felt like, you know, studios lost their way, whether that it was cheaper cost or it was just laziness, like, to be blunt about it, for some stuff.
Yeah.
I'll never forget, I don't know if it was Tim Story himself that said this, but he directed the Fantastic Four movies, and I actually like Tim Story. I think he's a little underrated, but I think it's Jessica Alba, who played the Invisible Woman, was trying to cry for a scene, and they literally said, we'll just CGI in the tear. That's when it's like, come on, you're interfering in a performance at that point. Like and that was what, like 2005. It was just getting out of hand, and I feel like we've now regressed. We've backtracked a little, thankfully, but yeah, there's definitely like a, you know, a certain type of balance you need to do, which did go into my other question for you, Nick. Do you think the effects, you know, both practical and CGI, still hold up here in 2025?
I think they kind of do a little. I think there's like the only part where I feel like to where it's like, man, if they could do any kind of like, the only word I guess I could describe it, it might sound like I'm trashing on it, but I'm not. I think it's still good, but it's to where it's like, if they were to George Lucas remaster, update it, the only scene for me that I thought to where it's like maybe do like a little sharpening of it was I can't remember what dinosaur they were. It's when they were trying to run away from the whole flock of like dinosaurs running like past them and everything. It's like doing a little bit sharpening of them, but still I think they look pretty good though still. And overall I think it's just it's like what you said, I think earlier, to where I just think they did really well on was the fact of how just the lighting, with like lighting the CGI to make it seem like it's actually in the actual space, and making it seem like it's actually there with them, and just that mixed with using practical elements around it. I don't know how much of all of it was practical, like in the sense of like with the, I can't remember, the herbivore big like an actual, like something, I don't know what they did or how they did it, but like actually somehow rigging up an actual like tree and like, you know, leaves and everything to move, and kind of like Roger Rabbit, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, while using actual practical elements within the scene, and then just putting in the CGI to make it seem like it's actually interacting with it, and just like having little moments like that. I think that's what, for me, I think what really I think sold it more is like having the CGI elements mess with things that are actual practical. And another one too, obviously with the T-Rex iconic scene when it's first introduced, is when it's just like bumping up against the car, and like it's an actual Jeep that they're using, but like it's the T-Rex interacting with it. I feel like that really sells it.
Yeah, I feel like those Jeeps are probably one of the most iconic movie cars. Like, it's no Batmobile, but it's probably in my top 10 of like most iconic like movie vehicles. Like, I love those Jeeps. As a proud Jeep owner myself, I would love to own one of those. I think they're sick. The red and the yellow, which like iconic color palette. I mean, that logo, like when you think of those colors, I mean, I think of Hulk Hogan, but then I also think of the Jurassic Park logo, and like the red and yellow, like the very theme park type like aesthetic where it's just bright and vibrant, perfect for Universal. But yeah, that whole thing. But let's go into the cast, because I think this cast pretty iconic. Not huge names. They really relied on you want to see dinosaurs. You know, these actors ended up being big names after this, but there's no like big superstar here. Like, you could have thrown in like, I don't think he was famous yet, but a Will Smith type. You know, I was trying to think of a big 90s actor. They didn't really do that with this one. Who's kind of your standout in this?
For me, it was like, honestly, it was just the core main. I mean, there's more, but like mostly the core main three of Jeff Goldblum, Laura Dern, and Sam Neill. Because like when I thought, before going into it, when I thought about Jeff Goldblum's character, just thinking of him as like the very suave, just like Jeff Goldblum talking kind of guy, but then in certain specific scenes, forgetting like how insightful he is, and especially with was it talking to I can't remember his last name in the movie, but talking to John, the head of Jurassic Park, with like in that whole like dinner scene when they're just talking about like,
one of my favorite
you were so
scenes.
yeah, just like I just forgot how good that little just scene was, especially just showing his character, and just the iconic quote of, you were so preoccupied if you could, you never thought about if you should.
Yeah,
it just like hit that one little moment of like really showing that, like, you know, yeah, he still is a kind of suave, you know, charming dude, but he's more than that. He's actually a very intelligent, insightful kind of person.
And it, you know, looking on movies today and AI and deepfake and CGI, it all kind of starts with this movie because of these computer generated visuals. It makes me wonder now that we're here 20 some years later, was Spielberg almost kind of talking to himself in that scene in a way? That he's pushing the boundaries, but he knows we're just going to push it more and more, and will it eventually be ethical? Like, you know, is it ethical for Grand Moff Tarkin to show up in Rogue One? You know, those are the questions we still are bringing up, and especially with AI now having, most recently, an AI voice Darth Vader in Fortnite.
Pulls down your... A radical turn.
Surprise noises. What are you doing?
And I thought that was reckless. That was to me a moment that like you were so preoccupied whether or not you could put a Darth Vader voice in Fortnite, you didn't think about if you should, and that turned into some really nasty things said in the voice of James Earl Jones, the late James Earl Jones. You know, it brings up a lot of stuff like that, and those are heavy themes that are talked about in this Jurassic Park movie about dinosaurs. I love that lunch scene where they have these, of course, spotlights. Spielberg loves his spotlights. Yeah, I love the conversations they have. I love a great ensemble, and I love when a great ensemble can have one of those scenes where they're just sitting and talking. You know, maybe that's the actor in me, but it's more theater-like when stuff like that happens, but scenes like that is what is kind of missing in maybe these later sequels. Like, why do I remember Alan Grant and everybody, but I don't remember, you know, dialogue from like Chris Pratt? Because there's a whole list of like Jeff Goldblum quotes here alone.
I think too. I think well, I think too. It's just to where it's like, I mean, again, like once like the T-Rex comes in the action and the movie starts going, I still like that, but it was like the first half of the movie is like one to where like I feel like watching, especially like as an adult, like you forget like how good that first half is, especially when they go to the park and they're really like getting like, you know, just introduced to everything with like, and then having that kind of portion like right before they go into the Jeeps where they're at that dinner. It's just kind of like it's just very much talking about the thematics of the movie and just literally just like playing God, and like, you know, and like when watching it, the other thing too that I just found very interesting about it was just because it was like one of those to where it's like it's not a blatant I don't know, it's to where it's like you could hear both sides and like kind of like hear, do I agree with there being an actual Jurassic Park? No, but like I can understand the head of the park, John. It's gonna bother me whatever his last name is.
Hammond.
But I just remember him just John, white beard. Was it
iconic? He's got the
points.
most iconic quote in the movie too. Welcome to Jurassic Park.
Jurassic Park.
And
And honestly, weirdly, it's very like watching like just that little dinner scene. I found to be weirdly like much more relevant to today because it was because I can't remember what animal they just wasn't it like the red wolf or something they just like.
Oh yes, we did just clone an animal. Yes, it was I believe it was a type of extinct wolf.
What's the word? Yeah, it is like, and like, it was just interesting with this, because like, I remember John making that point of like, okay, you give me crap with all the dinosaurs, but what if we brought back, animals that went extinct? And then Jeff Goldblum literally coming back with a heavy hitter of, yeah, but that's nature's natural selection. They had their chance.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I just found that it's just like, you could hear both sides, but it was just, that part specifically is very interesting.
It's a lot of heavy themes, because if you go the creationism route, then you don't believe in playing God. And even if you go the science route, you believe more in nature and evolution. And that's not really, right either. So it's a real catch-22, a double-bladed sword no matter what you believe in when it comes to this stuff. Especially for this movie, and particularly, they're doing it for money. They want to profit off of a theme park, off of tourism. We see scenes with the lawyer that the lawyer wants the richest people in the world to come here, while John, I almost said John Malkovich, not in this movie, sadly. But he says that he wants it more of like I almost said Disney World, but the rich people go to Disney World these days, and
like literally when watching, that's what I was thinking too. Especially when the lawyer's like, "We'll charge $2,000 a day for this,"
and that's what's happening now. And that's exactly what happened. We just saw with Universal's Epic Universe just open, how that's been crazy. And Disney World right now, the prices are outrageous. You read stories from all these parents who have been saving up for years and they still can't afford to go. That was another thing. You have Steven Spielberg's tight relationship with Universal after these movies. It kind of makes you think about that. And was Steven Spielberg also, was that kind of an analogy on himself, where the Jaws ride at Universal was being made and the E.T. ride, and did he kind of see how greedy this stuff could be? I don't know the timetables. I'm not sure when Universal opened and when Spielberg opened, but of course he directed Lost World, and that was on his mind then, like the themes of the first movie. So that's what is so great about this movie, is the conversations you could have both in the universe and outside the universe, some of the stuff. Yeah, because I do like that they had John's kids there, so you had the kid perspective. So when you are like 5 years old like us, you want to be in that world right there. You're just thinking about the dinosaurs, so you do still see that perspective. And as you get older, it's a great movie to kind of grow up with, because as you get older, you see some more of the themes in that. And yeah, it's they don't make them like they used to, at least when it comes to the blockbuster sense, because I'll dive into it more on other episodes about the sequels, but the sequels, don't really have that. They have a little more environmentalism, they have a little more like trying to preserve nature, but not the heavy themes like this has. I mean, their actual conversations were had in that scene alone, and in the rest of it. I actually in school took a quiz on Jurassic Park. We watched the movie, and I had to take a quiz that actually went towards my grade. So I remembered they got the blood from bugs that were in like tree sap, that were fossils like in the tree. I like know all of that by heart because I had to take a fucking quiz on it, which is like the weirdest thing.
This test was made for me.
I literally remember sitting there, and when they had the cartoon character explain all the DNA cartoon, another iconic scene where they're all shuffling through the tourism, which both of us, not thrill ride fans, So I feel like if we were there, that would be our favorite part, is getting to learn everything. I know you're not a roller coaster guy either. I rather go to
but
like
that kind of ride was great because what it reminded me of, like what was the Disney ride, like the President's one where it
Yes.
just spins you around, because that's what it literally reminded me of.
the Carousel of Progress too. I always like that ride too. But yeah, literally it's that same like Walt Disney type old like head ride, and I love that. And it's all real. Like they had to build that probably, which is the coolest thing too. Now it'd be this dark CGI set, and they'd just be sitting around, you know, green screens, and maybe they'd have them move, but maybe not. That's the unfortunate truth about it. No, I love stuff like that. I love seeing the egg hatch. The slow build to this movie was so good in a good way. You know, Steven Spielberg, you know, perfected this with Jaws, and he brought it into this movie. You don't want to give out the monster right away. You don't want to give out too much.
That's what I liked about it too.
And especially if you like the characters, I'm fine with it. Not to keep harping back to modern movies, but I didn't mind back during the old Avengers movies if it was a little slow, because I like those characters. I just liked watching
like spending time with them.
Yeah, and I don't get that sometimes with like Eternals, for example. Like you just don't get that instant connection, but I do in this movie. Like them interacting, switching cars, the kids being annoying to Alan because Alan doesn't like kids. You see all of their quirks and you instantly get what characters they are for. Even in a scene that you think is for laughs, like that's a one big pile of shit, but you see Laura Dern's character go study it, you see what she's all about. Like every single person at a different scene. Like Jeff Goldblum's character was that spotlight scene at lunch. Alan Grant had the egg scene where he's like, you're breeding raptors, and you see that he's very knowledgeable on how dangerous that is. And then he had Laura Dern studying the shit, and but you see where her expertise is in that. And I love how that's brilliantly set up, and it's all in that like first half of the movie, and then that's when you get to the action, and then that's when, you know, other things could happen, and you see them slowly change throughout the movie, like Alan's relationship to those children, and of course you see Jeff Goldblum trying to escape and everything. But yeah, any more tidbits on like kind of the first half of that movie?
Well, I guess it was more in the second half, but it was like, I guess related to like the Disney thing too, like the other, besides like the carousel part when they're like learning about the park, the other portion too where like it made me just think, well actually I guess two parts. The first one was when I think it's after stuff's already going down with the park, and John, the head of the park, is just I think eating the ice cream because of it's gonna melt, and just like, but it was like right before that you have like a shot of just all the merchandise for what would be sold at Jurassic Park, and it just made me think of just Disney and the amount of like Disney branding and just everything with like lunch boxes and just shirts, everything.
When they're sitting in the restaurant and it's supposed to be a big like food court theme park type. We've all been there. We all know what that setting would look like. You're used to something like that being so packed with people and screaming kids. So to have that scene where it's so barren and it's just them and the raptors, like, it's so different. That was one of the cool things about Jurassic World, is we got to see the park filled up. But I also really like this empty thing. It was almost like they were in a haunted theme park in a way. They couldn't get away from these dinosaurs. And I've always preferred that in a way, because it is almost like a horror movie, and it's especially towards the end. But going back a little bit, some of the side characters in here have become iconic. You got Sam Jackson, just, you know, as one of the computer guys, and then you have Newman from Seinfeld, Wayne Knight.
I was gonna say, fun fact with Wayne Knight, dude, like I learned this about like a week or two ago. It was just it just so happened to be an extra bonus to help me with this video here, is that he got the part for his character when Steven Spielberg saw him in Basic Instinct with Sharon Stone and Michael Douglas, and he was among the first few people I think casted, if not the first person casted in this movie. And just it's this wild to think, like, man, like Spielberg seeing Basic Instinct to seeing Newman from Seinfeld and just being like, this is the guy.
It's so 90s to have Wayne Knight in there. It does really feel like a time capsule, because like now, like And they kind of did that with the newer Jurassic World, where they had the guy from New Girl in it, which he's kind of like, so they kind of I don't know if that was on purpose, but they kind of did get the sitcom guy again. But Wayne Knight being in there was so entertaining. He was part of a scene that terrified me, but
yeah, it's still terrifying.
I do have a question for you, Nick, as we're on the subject of the theme parks and that. Would you go to Jurassic Park? And not World, like if this version opened.
Okay, I'd want to give it a shot, but like it doesn't help with like watching it. I guess here's the thing, like because like realizing like so if Newman didn't do any of the things that he did, and you know, 'cause I keep wanting to say Newman, but I can't remember his actual character's name. But with Wayne Knight's character, like he was paid off to get the DNA for another company, right? And he basically shut down all the power, which then, if they didn't have a character like Wayne Knight working at this park to cause issues to like that would later just like domino into dinosaurs escaping. Yeah, I'd go.
And it all starts with them. I love when he gives them the whipped cream thing, and Newman's so excited that he's gonna hide it. It's such like cartoonish antagonists. You know, right from the beginning, like he's just designed to like get us like to get eaten essentially, and you knew it was gonna be entertaining and terrifying. Yeah, would you say it was that Newman scene and that dinosaur that scared you the most as a kid?
That one definitely, yeah.
I think that's the one for me too.
Because I think it's the fact of just, it's like one, and like it's a small little thing and you don't think it's like too scary, or it's like the fact of like it doesn't attack like in the usual way. It would like spit ink or whatever it was at
pretty
you.
Much poisons you first. Like what a horrible way to die.
It's kind of like it makes itself look big and makes like a reminds me of like a rattlesnake with that sound.
Yes.
And then
that's the thing is I hate snakes, so I think that's why too. It's too reptile for me.
And I think too, it's the fact of like we don't see his actual death. It's like we don't like what Wayne Knight's doing, but he's a fun character to watch, in which I feel like we like him enough towards it's like when he gets killed. It's just off screen, like we don't see any of it what happening, but we can only imagine like how it doesn't help. I think it's even kind of worse a little bit than like. I mean, getting eaten by a dinosaur is, I feel like, not fun overall. I mean, the guy that got ate on the toilet when he ran away from the Jeep.
That's brutal.
Like that, R.I.P. the lawyer. But like, I feel like Wayne Knight's is worse, because like that's a smaller dinosaur to where it's gonna be taking like chunks out of your skin and everything like that. Yeah. While the T-Rex just kind of eats you whole. And I feel like you're kind of done for after one bite. But like Wayne Knight's is, I feel like, more painful and more scary.
Yeah, I'm way more terrified at that, and I am scared of the raptors because of how smart they are.
Yeah.
It's almost like in Nope, and other movies did this too with chimpanzees. The smarter the animal is, the more terrifying it is to me, because it's like he's not just gonna like kill me. Like it's gonna like I'm gonna be alive for most of like this whatever this animal's gonna do to me, and it's gonna be horrible. Like a T-Rex, like your head's off, like that's it. Like you're probably not even gonna feel it. Like you are just gone.
Also with the raptors, it doesn't help that like they literally travel in packs. So it's like if you see one, there's probably most likely one or two more. So it's like if you're able to get away from, I can't remember the poacher, the guy that like the Australian dude, but literally just like I'd feel just like I felt bad for him a little bit, because like he tells Laura during the run, he's like I'll hold him off, and then he sees it, he's like getting himself, he's staying quiet as he can, and just as he's about to take the shot, just like right next to him, just he's clever girl.
The clever girl seems iconic. Once we hit that second act, I mean, there's so many iconic scenes. The suspense I still get when the kid is hanging off of the
going
fence
back and
gets
forth
electrocuted.
With, like, her turning on the power.
Still gets me. I still think he's gonna every time. I still think he's gonna make it. And when he does get electrocuted, I still jump, because I always forget like they actually did that. Yeah, and the restaurant scene, like we mentioned, the raptors going through the kitchen, terrifying. I mean, something straight out of a horror movie. Like they're literally hiding. Another
one too with the raptor scene in the kitchen. Like because you mentioned imagine, and like they say it in the movie too, with like them opening doors. I think it's the fact of like why I think I like that. I didn't realize how it was cut until like watching it again. It was because like right before that raptor scene, you talk about, I think Laura Dern. It's like Laura Dern, Sam Neill, because like they're all together talking about, I think, getting off or whatever, and then as well as like they have to deal with the raptors, and then this like, I think Sam Neill just makes the joke or makes it just an offhanded comment of just like, it's not like they can open doors though, and then just literally cuts to like the kids in the restaurant, and then it gets to them like, you know, hiding in the kitchen, then just literally just they start opening the door. It's just like, oh no, they just said they couldn't though. They can. I can't remember the actress's name too, but just like the little kid actress, like I thought, I just love the part, like, was it it's like she's just eating the Jello and she just goes wide-eyed and just starts shaking her hand, and the Jello just starts shaking when she sees the shadow of the raptor.
Child actors, they could be tough sometimes, but those kids were perfect. They looked scared, like they did the whole thing. It was so 90s that the one girl was a hacker, like just there was the most
that would until seeing it again.
If I had to pick a scene that's aged the worst, it's probably that, oh, I'm a hacker, I could just do any computer or whatever, like that ain't happen. That didn't happen back then. That's certainly not happening now. Like, that girl would be like a PC gamer, and then they give her a Mac and she wouldn't know what to do. Like, you can't you can't just be a superpower to computers anymore.
As I say, you can understand, especially I think with this Sam Neill's character, it just Alan Grant's his name's right? Alan Grant?
Yes, Alan Grant.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like first of all, like watching it again, I forgot how much I really enjoyed his arc with like him hating kids, like especially with him just messing with the kids
and the boy's like a fan. He's like, I've read your book. Like he's like,
yeah. And I was like, very. It's like, I don't know. It's very just funny because it's just like, man, if I was like a dinosaur guy and a kid saying, I read your book on all these dinosaurs, you'd be like my best friend.
I'd be amazed.
Let's talk dinosaur. Let's talk shop.
I love.
I
love going way back in the beginning. The way he talked to that kid in the beginning with the chicken analogy, I think it was.
Yeah, because he was like, I'm not afraid of a chicken or turkey, and then he just takes out literally the claw. He's like, and just describes like what like it would do to him.
It's such a good intro because it sets off like, oh, this guy just doesn't know how to talk to a kid. Like, it's a little based. Might be too based is how I describe Alan Grant at the beginning. And then you see him and Laura Dern's character has some kind of past. You know, I've famously been a Laura Dern hater, and it does kind of stem from this movie. But upon watching it lately, I found her way more charming in this. I don't know. For a little bit, I thought she was like just kind of like whispering, making noises to like be like, oh, but she just had that. She gave me the vibe of like, I'm the quirky scientist girl. Oh, look at me. But when I really watched it this time, because I was like, what am I missing here? And I'm like, she is actually like, she does like, it is very like intelligent, does help Alan along with the kids see what he's missing, being a more like, I guess, wholesome individual. And I think she does serve a really like big purpose in this movie the more I did. So I apologize to Laura Dern of all the years I've talked. I didn't mean to do that. Now, Last Jedi, that's a different story, but we're not here to talk about that.
For another time.
I do like at the end of this movie, it's a dinosaur saving them. So Spielberg was brilliant in this, where you have so the theme of the movie isn't, oh, dinosaurs are evil. No. It is that natural selection type of theming where like it to me it just showed that we're here, get out, like we're not here to kill you per se, but you are interfering on this and you should have never interfered it at all. At least that's my perspective. Yeah. That's what's great about this movie is everyone kind of has their own opinion on it. Like some people think it is just a dumb dinosaur movie, and maybe it is. Maybe we've all just read too deep into it, but When a talented individual like Spielberg, especially a former film student, I know he likes his under the radar type of themes, and it does make for a really fun discussion.
I think the other one too, with just like the other regarding like the themes with it, is just like not only the fact of just, you know, I think it's really cool. I agree with that. The fact of like the villain, or well, because like the thing is, it's like, yeah, like what you said, the dinosaurs aren't like the actual antagonists of the movie. It's literally just the humans in their own. It's them creating the issues and just figuring out how to solve it and just get out of it, and just of like, and it's really cool. I think to where it's like if the introduction to the T-Rex is them just having to like just get out and get away, and then the final like moment of the film is just, and even though it wasn't there to save him, it was probably just like you said, natural selection, just a very much right way, right place, right time for the T-Rex.
It was really all luck. Like, I'm glad there was no like hero shot of any of these guys, because they all like were there. Well, they were all there for money. So it's not like they were there for any moral good themselves. The only people were the kids. The kids were the ones that, you know, should never got hurt. They don't know what they're getting into.
And they went through a lot, like, when watching this again, like, both of them. Like, it's like, they're the first to get attacked inside the car. They then have to get down. They have to climb down. Hold on. They have to climb down into the T-Rex, like, observatory with the wire. And the kid, Tim, he falls into the tree from inside the car. He almost gets smashed by the car when it falls again from the tree when Sam Neill's character Alan Grant tries to save him, and the dude gets shocked and falls like 30 feet to the ground, and his heart stops technically, so in a sense he kind of maybe possibly actually died. It's just to thank goodness Sam Neill actually cared enough
he probably
to have
did
him live.
flatline. I didn't even think of that.
And just like, and like, yeah, they like the kids like actually go through like some pretty nasty crap. It's wild, like, because I don't think, like, I can't really think of any movies like recently where like kids within the plot like had to go through like that much like endurance and struggle to come out the other side. And not only that, but like it's just, I don't know, it's just like, it's just wild. And just the fact of like, and I hope they had a blast making the movie, because it's just like they sold it in the sense of like how terrifying it would be, especially just when they're inside the car in the first T-Rex scene. And like and I think too, the other, besides just them, I think the only thing, and when you said like hero shot, the only thing I could think of in regard of like hero shot was never of like an actual hero shot. It was like but it was more of like the hero shot of like kind of like those swooping or kind of little creeping like dolly in shots. For me, it was like, I feel like they did that best when it came to like reactions, and like the best, I think the best one overall is when they first get to like the grasslands, and like the head of the park, John, just like, and where he gets the iconic line, says the iconic line, "Welcome to Jurassic Park," and you just see Sam Neill's reaction of just like,
they all sell it so well.
Oh my god! And then he just turns his head, he like grabs like Laura Dern's head and turns it, and they all just like do the same effect of like taking off the glasses, like, oh my god, and just of like really just selling it in the sense of like, whoa, this is real. Like, and not only that, but to where it's just like, yeah, like, honestly, even to, I mean, I know we're not like archaeologists and, you know, dinosaur extraordinaires and, you know, regarding like knowledge, but I think anybody would have like that reaction of just like, holy crap, that's a real dinosaur. And also too, like, was it I was gonna say, the fun fact, like, I guess is, it kind of relates more back to the practical element thing. Like, I think, I keep in to the T-Rex introduction scene with the practical effects. The other thing too is just of like the sound, the sound design with everything, I think was just great. But the one specific practical effects that I think is really great is how they did everything regarding of the ripples in the water. Because like I can't remember like the other techniques that they did, but I can't remember what documentary it was, but they talked about how they eventually got the effect by doing I think they used like, they basically, I don't know if it was I don't know if they used a subwoofer, but they basically used just like a heavy bass and just like played some kind of heavy bass sound like that was like right underneath like where the cups were in the car and stuff, to literally just give that ripple, because they tried to like figure out other ways to do it, but like the only way they could get it perfect was when they did like the subwoofer bass method. I just always found that just very just wild and interesting, because it's like, it's one of those scenes, especially where just like when you see, it's just such a good build up of like the kid, like they hear something in the distance, he looks at the water, boom, boom, just like the ripple. It's just like such a good build up, and then it just tears through the fence and they're toast.
Yeah, I mean that second half, the build up and everything, it pays off, and it really is one of the perfect like blockbusters. But now that we've discussed Jurassic Park, now it's got a campaign for the Ace Awards, another edition. I got some categories here, got some brand new ones that are more Jurassic theme for the month. And first, let's have the biggest Dino Diva award. Which dinosaur absolutely stole the show? It's got to be the T-Rex, right?
I think it's got to be the T-Rex,
for
yeah.
At least this movie, that T-Rex scene, it's the thing everyone remembers. And it doesn't matter if you're 3 years old or you're 80 years old seeing that movie for the first time, you remember that T-Rex scene and it gave you an anxious feeling. Like, no matter what. It felt real because of the blend of practical. It's one of the perfect monster type scenes ever. Like, it really is. To do it in the rain made the situation more parallel too. It to me, it's that scene is just perfect. It really is.
No, I definitely agree. No, it's got to be that one. And just I think just like everything about it, and just the only other one I can think of as like a tight second. But honestly, I think it'd be a tie for me. It'd be between the little. Like little the one that killed Wade. It would be a tie between the Wayne Knight and the Raptors, because I forgot how much I love the Raptors, but for me the one that where I was most surprised with, other than the T-Rex and Raptors, was that little one that killed Wayne Knight. Because just forgetting how terrifying that little dude was. He has a little moment, but it's a strong moment.
You had one job award. Which human character messed up the most? There's a lot of them.
Well, I was gonna say you can kind of say you could make the comment of being like, well, it could be the head of the park itself being like, you had one job of like making sure all the dinosaurs stay in their cages, so like he has a strong one. But for me, I think honestly like the strongest one was either him and like as I say, I have three. It's him. Wayne Knight, because all Wayne Knight had to do was just not drive because he like when watching it again, I was like, man, if you just did drive stupidly and like so fast on these like muddy roads, like you wouldn't be in the situation where you crashed and had to get out and just he had one job, just like sneak out and don't make it obvious, and just like he could have made it. And then number two would probably be John, the head of the park, because he had one job, keep everything and make sure nothing escapes. And then the number three, it feels like a tough love, but also it feels mean to say it, but like mostly for the fact of like he kind of did sacrifice himself to make sure Laura Dern got out of there. But it was like the Australian poacher dude, just like because it's like, man, he had one job to like kill that. I mean, I don't know. He was outgunned. Even if he got that one raptor, he would have been gunned. He would have been toast. So I try to say him, but
Yeah, I think.
But I don't know. Probably not. If anything, maybe if anything, if anything, take him out, and I'll put the lawyer at number 3.
That's a good one too. How about the Sweetest Moment Award? Best heartwarming or cute moment amid all the chaos. I instantly thought of when Alan Grant and the kids are sleeping up in the tree, and you see
that's
one
mine.
Dinosaur. I love that shot. That scene, it gives you nice butterflies in your stomach in a good way.
It's definitely. It's definitely a feel-good moment as to where it's just like, I don't know, just like the kids are so scared, and like he's like trying to just very much just keep them calm, and like it's just very just like it's just, I don't know, I think it's just awesome. It's just really cool because like his character doesn't like kids, and then it's like it's a much needed kind of like moment in like that scene where he just kind of has to become like a dad or father figure for these kids, just to make sure they feel safe and everything.
The other scene that popped in my head was the closing shot where the kids are sleeping on his shoulders, and he looks at Laura Dern, and you kind of think that could be their future, even though it doesn't really end like that, we know, but it's still a nice scene.
The only other one I can think of for like kind of endearing scene, honestly, probably of like it doesn't really involve the kids. I think the kids scene in the tree is probably the best one, but the only other one I can think of where it's like more with like the adults is kind of like when they're all watching the egg hatch for the first time.
Yes.
And just of like that amazement of like like them being able to breed like these dinosaurs, and just like seeing like an actual dinosaur egg among like an actual dinosaur hatching from an egg, and just like the the wonderment and just of like everything around us, of like I don't know, to where it's just like them probably just going through their whole like just going through everything, just in the sense of like more in the sense I guess of like career wise, not as much of like maybe life wise too, but like in the sense of like, wow, like we've like worked so much of like studying these things that are extinct, and we're actually getting to see them hatch and become alive for like the first time in who knows of how many millions of years. For me, that would be like my number 2, but number 1 definitely the tree scene.
It's such a cute moment that turns into kind of a dark moment when Alan realizes that they are raptors, the most dangerous, dinosaurs you could breed. But yeah, no, that's a good one too. And we kind of touched on this one, the that didn't age well award. Which part of the movie feels awkward, weird, or outdated now? I think it's the hacker girl. It's completely unnecessary. Do you have anything else that kind of sticks out to you that wouldn't really work now?
Honestly, I think it's mostly just like the hacker girl thing. Like everything else, I feel like it's still pretty good.
It's
like
pretty
it's
solid.
Just like,
This is an interesting one. The Smartest Move Award. Who actually made the best decisions for survival? I think I'm going to give it to Jeff Goldblum's character because he distracted the T-Rex so the kids could get away. And I do admire that. Maybe it's not survival for himself, but he saved Alan and the kids' lives there by doing what he did. And he did end up surviving, so.
Yeah. I don't know if, I can't remember if it like, well, it kind of, it did, R.I.P. because he didn't die, but like he got crushed by that like hay and house thing. But like the one thing he did that was definitely the smartest, like I think it was the best move in that situation for sure, because like it was like him, I mean, I don't think it was purposeful, but it was like definitely him like taking notice of Alan Grant by using the flare, and just basically then it's like, oh, okay, just keep it away, have this flare, and then also, if anything, the smartest move with like that scene with like him running away was like, because I think he just kind of got crushed when it was like it kind of bumped him, slashed, because like he threw, because like right before it kind of was like about to get him, he threw the flare, and I think that's what kind of had the T-Rex keep going, and luckily, but he just got crushed by everything else.
Yeah, luckily he got to get on the Jeep. We had the Must Go Faster, which that is the one special edition they ever did these movies. When the 3D release of this movie came out, that shot of the T-Rex in the mirror, they actually put in as a special edition, objects in this may appear farther or closer, whatever it said, closer to what it is. Cause that wasn't in the original. I thought that was a fun
I didn't
tidbit.
know. That's cool.
Yeah, I forget where I saw that, but that was really cool. This is an interesting one. The Make It a Video Game Award. What scene would make the best video game? And also, I want to add to this, which scene would make the best theme park ride? I think video game-wise, you could do something with the Jeeps. We talked about the Jeeps being iconic. You can make that, a thing. I selfishly want to just be a dinosaur and destroy the park. But I don't know if you ever played them, but you ever play like Roller Coaster Tycoon or Zoo Tycoon?
Yeah. They
have a version of that for Jurassic World, and they actually made 2 of them.
That's cool.
I dabbled a little bit in it like last year, I think, and I loved it. You're pretty much, John from the movie, and you're controlling the park. When the dinosaurs go loose, it's genuinely like frustrating. Like, it's really fun to do, because I think I did do raptors, and man, I was not ready to do raptors, and
I couldn't handle it.
It's such a cool and there's like a third person view where you could zoom in and look at the park like as like a viewer walking. It's really cool. Like I think it's on Game Pass right now for any Xbox users, but I'm sure it's by now really cheap on like Steam and stuff. But it's a cool little game if you're just looking for like something random. But yeah, any stuff like that I love just kind of being a tycoon and try to see what I would do if I ran a park like this.
That's really cool. I gotta check that one out. The only one I can think of, like, I think honestly it's a mix of 2, with like the kind of like a was it for theme park ride? It would be even though it was kind of a ride in the movie itself, was the whole little carousel, because I just think that would just be a fun.
I agree.
Thing, just of like being able to learn stuff with dinosaurs and just see scientists work on stuff. I think that'd be cool. And then the second one, it doesn't help that the dinosaurs escape and that the Jeeps stop on their track. But it was basically kind of because the Jeeps that they're in when that whole T-Rex scene happens, I thought was like it starts with them like the Jeeps are like just suspended, or they're powered through the track itself, to where you can have like just a little like interactive kind of thing like that. Just, I think that would be a
We
fun
can have
ride.
actual dinosaur like animatronics on that ride. Like just make that. Like I'm sure that'd be a lot of real estate, but judging from Epic Universe
so
and that
cool.
universe has got it. So maybe that could be an expansion one day.
For me, like I think the scene that would be a cool like video game like kind of thing that you could use is this like kind of like a, I mean it's like what we were saying to where it's kind of like a survival horror movie, but the second half is like the scene for me, I think that would be like a really cool video game or just like a part of a video game is just when the kids are like having to hide and keep away from the raptors in the kitchen.
Oh, that's
and just like finding ways to. Because the other part, like
that
I
could be like an
would
escape
cool,
room.
is like, yeah.
I like that idea. It'd be terrifying, but I'd love it. That would feel like some kind of training. Like how well can you do under pressure that a dinosaur's about to eat you? And you could do different effects. Like you can have maybe like maybe when there's like 5 minutes left, like an alarm goes off and smoke like gets in the room or something. Like you could make that really cool. Like if you put like money into it.
Yeah.
And to in our last award here, a shout out to one of my favorite podcasts. What is the most rewatchable scene in this movie? I think this is incredibly hard, actually. It's very tough.
Watchable scene.
You could argue when they see the dinosaurs for the first time, because you get that main score. We didn't mention this, but John Williams, one of the best main scores he's ever done. The Jurassic Park score, iconic. You could say that one. Man, you could say the T-Rex scene. Any Jeff Goldblum quotes you could say.
I think for me, like the two tied for first. It's like a scene where it's like it sticks with you. I feel like since you first see it, to where it's like, and I think they're just tied for first for me. It's just of like when they first see the dinosaurs for the first time, because you get to hear like the whole like full theme of Jurassic Park, or like the whole like that part, and then I think the T-Rex scene. But like I think like a tight number two, to where like I forgot just like how good it was and just how surprising it was just for me was it's like after they've gone through the whole like kind of park and they're just kind of then sitting at like the dinner scene, like all of them, and they're just like discussing like kind of the thematic like message of the movie. It was just like the spotlight and projectors like, in the background
that scene
projecting
too.
things.
The lunch
I'd
scene.
be like my number yeah.
I think that's like I feel like that's a personal pick for me. It might not be the most iconic to people, but from a script, from a framing, from performances, it's like really solid for a random movie about dinosaurs. It's just such a really good ensemble cast scene. I might go with that too. But but to finish this off, what would you rate it? What's your letterbox ranking of Jurassic Park?
All right, well I was thinking out of 10. I forgot this is letterbox, so I got to think out of like what, 4 stars, 5 stars?
5 stars.
5 stars. All right, 5 stars, like a solid like 4. If anything, like 4.5, if not a 5. Like between there, probably 5. I had a lot of fun watching it. I thought there were a lot of cool parts with it, and also like too thinking about it in the sense of like just I think filmmaking wise, like with Spielberg, it's like with Spielberg at the time, because it's like 20 years later since Jaws, like the amount of like experience of like knowing how to make movies of what he likes. I think too, just not only just with his experience with it, but like wildly at the same time, he was also making Schindler's List.
Yeah.
Bonkers that he was able to like complete both at the same year. And then it has I think too as well, just like it has among like my favorite cinematographers in the movie, Dean Cundey, and just of like his like cinema techniques and just of like how to frame shots, and just because like and like the one thing like for me with like I mean I like all movies, but like for like a technical thing for me where it's like I like a movie a little bit more even though it could be not the best is I'm a big fan of aspect ratios, and like my favorite probably is I think I can't remember if you said like yours is probably 4:3. You know, got the good little square.
Oh,
and like
yes.
for me, I've always been a big fan of 2:3:5 because it's just like that classic widescreen.
Right.
And like for most movies, like I'm not usually a big fan of like 1:8:5 or full screen, but like with watching this again, like because like I was thinking about it throughout the whole time of like, man, I wonder if this would be better or not in 2:3:5 or like something of like an older, like more like he had the bars in there, but then thinking about it in the sense of like if this was like seen on a movie screen at theater, I think it was like probably the better choice to go with like the full screen, because if like especially if you watch it on a big they're going full screen, because if you have like a big screen at home or if you're able to see it in the theater, I just feel like it just seems so much more bigger and just like really showing the vast vastness of like the park.
Every time I rewatch this movie, I'm like, man, I gotta catch this in a theater one of these years, like one of these anniversary releases, like, because, like, man, I never saw it in 3D. I wanted to, but I never did, and I just gotta wait for the next anniversary, I guess. With Revenge of the Sith being now the highest grossing re-release of all time, I think we're gonna see more of these, so hopefully we do get more opportunities to see these epics in a movie theater again, because, yeah, you can have the best 4K TV, but a movie like this, it's meant for the theater, man. Like, it really,
and also
truly
with the
is.
Sound itself, like,
Yeah.
like I was gonna say, just with like the surround sound, with like the because like hear the dinosaur. I mean, it's cool to hear it at home. You know, you can have a great sound system, but like I feel like I don't know. It's like with going to the theater. It's like, you know, I mean, it doesn't help us sometimes with bad audience members. You forget them once the movie you locked in. But like, but like literally, I think it's just besides like the screen itself. I think just as well, just like literally like a mix between the sound and the actual score itself, of just like, because like anytime like the dinosaurs roar, it's just right there. It just feels just so intense.
Yeah, no doubt about it. It's a certified classic. I gave it 4 stars. I mean, I could even bump it up to a 4.5. I mean, this is a classic. The only thing that holds it back is Spielberg is the GOAT, and this probably isn't even in his top 5 for me, because that's just how fucking good this guy is. Like, it's an insane filmography, and I'm sure we could talk about Spielberg all day, but when it comes to Jurassic Park, we both agree it's a classic. Check it out if you haven't, I guess. But this first episode of Jurassic June, I think, was a success. Thank you, Nick, for joining me, and I'm sure I'll have you on a future episode when we're talking about another movie again. And yeah, hope you guys enjoy the rest of Jurassic June. We got a lot coming up. This has been the Ace2Face podcast. And Nick, I believe this comes out June 1st. Nick, anything coming out? I believe Heartland Homicide will still be premiering episodes.
Yeah. We already released 1 episode of Heartland Homicide, and I think into June we're going to be releasing the rest of them, and very excited for that one. I've been working on that for a bit. It's just a little documentary series about my grandfather when he was a detective in like the 70s and 80s, and not only just him but also his partner as well, and just it's just very cool, just short little episodes, like 5 to 10 minutes, and just like him talking about cases that he's worked on, of course all being related to homicides, but each episode is very much a different homicide, and just they're wild. Like there's only 1 episode that we had to cut just because I think it got too dark, but I think my favorite episode is probably is like the 5th one, is probably the last and final episode, because it's one to where when you hear the whole story itself from both his and his partner's perspective, it's wild to think of like that actually happened, because it's one of those to where it's like, man, like you think like, man, only in a movie this could happen. No, it's wild of like how it like all plays out. But yeah, that's like the main thing we have coming out for Scary Box, and then other than that, we're just gearing up for October, just getting stuff ready for that one, and excited for that as well.
We'll have, I'm sure we'll have some more stuff coming out in the world of, in the Shockwave universe, I guess we could call it. But it's Scary Box, Shockwave Sports, and here on Face the Ace. Got a lot of stuff for the rest of the year for you guys. Hope you enjoy this Jurassic June, and I'll see you all in the next podcast. I guess I could say that. Who knows? All right.